Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Welcome back to my channel, and we'll continue with our 100 days of DevOps. Today is day 38 and we are currently in our CI/CD phase. We started with CI/CD about a couple of days ago, where we got introduced to what CI/CD means, the importance of CI/CD, what CI means, what CD means, and the steps that are involved in both the CI process and the CD process. Then we looked at tools that can help us for to execute this particular phase of what are we now. To implement CI/CD, we have different tools that would help us do that. So there are tools that can do both CI and CD. There are tools that are specifically designed for CI, and there are tools that are specifically designed for CD. So we're going to look into about 3 tools, which I mentioned. We're going to look into Jenkins, GitHub Actions, and Argo CD. We started looking at Jenkins, I think about 2 days ago, where we got introduced to Jenkins. We looked at the Jenkins interface, and then we started trying our hands on how to write pipelines, Jenkins files, and all of that. So if you've not seen all of this, you're missing a great deal if you just want to continue with this video. So I would advise that you go see the previous videos. And when I mean see these previous videos, I'm not saying just start from this phase. I'm saying start from the beginning, because everything that we do on this channel is based off on what we've started from scratch. Whatever video I say this time after time, any video you see today is always based on previous videos. So we're just stacking it up layer by layer by layer. So without wasting much time, let's go into what we have for today. So yesterday we started building our pipeline for our application, and we started with, this is the framework. We designed the framework, and we started with the cloning. And when I ran this command, remember we ran into an error yesterday, and I had to check where the mistake was. So the mistake is, if you're going to use git clone, it's you have to create a shell for it. You have to have like sh in front of it, then you run it as a single command, the same way we did when we're testing pipelines. We have to put sh, showing that we want a shell for it. So this is one way to go about it. If you don't want to use a shell and you want to just use git like that, you can just remove the clone. Yes, you can remove the clone, and you just have this. Sorry, you just have this and this. So that way it works. So we're going to try it. Then there's another way we can also write it, where you can also be specific about the branch that you want the your Jenkins to actually clone or to actually interact with. So we don't just want anyhow branch, because now we're not using the code from SCM. We are trying to write a declarative phase before we start integrating Jenkins file and then start doing automation. So let's try this, and let's go into and see. Let's see. Let's create a new job. So we just do logger body pipeline. So we use a pipeline project, and then we'll continue. So it's taking a bit of time. Okay, so we'll go down, and if you're familiar with this already, I believe that by now you should have tried your hands on one or two things. So we can either choose a pipeline script, or we choose pipeline from source code management, which is where we incorporate our GitHub into. Understand? So just a quick go again. If you want a sample pipeline, if you want the hello world pipeline, if you want the GitHub plus Maven pipeline, this is basically for Java and all of that. So we can do that, but I'm not going to do any of that. We've done that on, I think, 2 days ago, where we were looking at pipelines and all of that. So I'm going to paste this. What we're going to be doing is that we're just going to be test running our pipeline. We'll test run it till we're able to completely build the pipeline. Then after we are done building, then we now put it into a Jenkins file and then automate. Then we'll talk about things like webhooks and all of that. So we are going to get there just one step at a time. So if I apply this, then we build. So the build has been scheduled. Let's go to our console output and see. Okay. So let's see if now we can be able to, if now Jenkins can actually see our repository, because we have to change repository visibility from private to public. So that's the only way Jenkins can actually see it. If not, we'll just it won't even reach it because it's a private repository. There are other things that you would need to actually do for it to be able to interact with the public repository. So let's see the pipeline field. Let's see. The recommended Git tool is none. No credentials specified. Cloning the GitHub repository. All of that. Okay, error, couldn't find the version verified repository branch configuration for this job. So it's asking us for the branch configuration for this particular job. So let's try and specify the branch. I told you there were two ways to go about it, where you can just do this and then, or you can specify the branch. So let's go and edit our pipeline, and let's do so what we now do is that we'll add a branch since we have been told to specify the branch. So do git branch, and we want our branch to be, sorry, that's 1n. We want our branch to be the main branch, and then we have a comma and the URL it should be this. Okay, so let's see if this time around it's able to, because now what we've been able to prove now is that now we're not getting that error that our command is wrong. Now it's not saying, like, it's not able to pick the branch. So let's edit. Let's go back and edit our pipeline, and let's see. So configure, go back to configure, and so we just replace this with the new things we've added: git branch, main, and this is the URL. So let's try it again. Let's build. So this is how you actually learn. You keep building it little by little, step by step, until you actually get the correct thing. So let's check the console output and see if we'll get something different this time around. Okay, so finished, success, right? So now it's been able to get our branch. So it has checked out. You can see checking out. So it has checked out the branch. So what happened was that you couldn't specify, you couldn't determine which branch exactly it's to clone. So we had to include a branch which is the main branch, right? So now that that is out of the way, so we've successfully written the first step of our pipeline. So we've written the first step of our pipeline. We have to delete this. So the first step is to check out the code. Now the second step is to test the code. So what are we actually testing? If you followed me the first day, we talked about lint and all of that. Where lint, what it does is that it just tests your code to see if there are like any errors, any species, syntax errors, and all of that. So this is the next step we are going to actually do. So we'll go to our terminal now, and if we cd into logger app. So if you want to test, basically we are supposed to test for both the front end and the back end, right? But for the purpose of this video, I will just focus majorly on the back end, because that is where our logic is. That is majorly where a lot of things happen, and that is what talks to the database. So I'm going to just focus on the backend. And you can as well maybe probably do your research on how to do tests for front end. What we use for front end is Nginx, so you can research on how to actually do that. So I'm just going to make sure I focus on the back end. So for the back end, we used our backend application is a Python application. So how do you do lint testing for Python apps? There is actually a tool called, if I cut my requirements.txt, so there's a tool called, you can either use PyTest or you can use Flick 8. So I'm going to use Flick 8, and the way you do it is we'll test it manually here, and then once we test it manually, if there are any issues here, it means that there will be issues when we run it on our pipeline, right? The reason why we are doing this here is because I'm trying to show you how it is done manually before we start automating things. Before you move into automation, it's best that you understand how things are done manually. In an ideal environment, you might not be the one doing this particular test on the CLI, right? The developers are the ones that is going to do that, while you run the script. So when you run the script and there's an issue, and the issue is coming from the developer's perspective, then you send a feedback to them that, okay, this is the issue there. Then they can edit the code base and then commit their changes and then run it against your pipeline that you have written. So that is how it is done. So but we are going to do everything. We are going to be the developer, we are going to be the DevOps engineer and all of that. So the way you do it is we just do you need to have Python installed, you need to have pip installed, right? So I've done all of that here. I've done all of that on this our virtual machine. Now it is not, Python and pip are not installed on our Jenkins container. So we might run into any issues while we might run into issues while we are doing that. So in a case where we run into issues while we are using the Jenkins to try and automate our testing step, we will now have to install pip, Python, and all of that on the Jenkins container itself. But let's focus on making sure that things are working perfectly on our VM, that's on the VM, and then everything is working fine. So what you do now is that when we're building this application, I already explained why we have a requirement.txt. If you're a Python developer, you understand that requirement.txt contains those the libraries and all of that helps, or dependencies that helps our application to actually work. So I'll do pip install -arrow requirement.txt. So when I click enter, it will try and install the dependencies. So okay, the environment is externally managed. Why is that? Python always works in a virtual environment, right? So Python works in a virtual environment. So you can see Python 3 you understand? So you run this, and then this is what you run first. Then you now put your application in the virtual environment that you have created. I've already created a virtual environment using this command. So I'm just going to I can't remember the command again, so I will have to get external help for that. Okay, so I think source something. Let me search for it. Install pip on Jenkins. So good. So first of all, you create a virtual environment and then you run this command. So I'll go back there and then I'll paste this. Okay, I don't want to paste it here. Let me just okay, well, let me just paste it here. I did not install it on this particular place, so I'm going to go back. I'll paste it here now. Right, so you can see now we are in a virtual environment. So our pip install is going to work now. So when I do this, so it's going to run now. It might not run as before. Requirements.txt. Oh, sorry. Backend. Let pip install requirement.txt. Okay, so it's the output is quite fast, and that's because I've run this pip install requirement.txt beforehand. If it was if I was doing it for the first time, you will see all of these things that are inside the requirement.txt will be installed, right? So that is that. So now there's a command that you need to actually, since I told you that we're working with flake 8, so the way you can use flake 8 to check or to do lint testing on your code is to do flake 8 on the current directory. So it checks the current directory, it gets the source code, and then goes through it. If there are any issues, it will tell you. So if I press enter, it's going through the source code. So now we have errors on our source code. So this is just to show you that it has errors on the source code. So on line 18 is expecting 2 blank space, 2 blank lines, found 1. On line 27 expecting 2 blank lines, found 1. So basically it has to do with spacing, like I told you. Basically have to do with spacing, syntax, formatting, and all of that. So what we have here is it has explained it expected 2 blank lines and found 1, and this is E302, so most of them has the E302. When we go to E501, the line is too long, so it's expecting the number of characters and then you've exceeded it, right? So the highest number of characters is 79, and then what we have in that line is 85. So 85 is greater than 79, so it will throw errors. So you can see all of them is 79, and we have 81, 86, 85, and then we have E305 expected 2 blank lines after class or function definition and found 1. And then finally we have the blank line contain white spaces. So now you're saying this for the first time and you might not really understand what does this actually mean. Let's say actually seeing it now is actually self-explanatory, right? It's just talking about the lines. It's expecting lines, it's expecting 2 and it's finding 1. But say you want to be further sure of what you're actually seeing, you can just copy this. You can just copy this code, just like this, and then go to your browser, right? You don't have to actually know everything. So you copy the code, you go to your browser, you paste it, and you enter it. So your AI or your browser, your copilot will check. So you can see it's giving you an example. It's saying now, for example, now this is a function. So it's import math, it defines the function and all of that. Now the correct way is there's now 2 lines. You can see there are 2 lines between import and define, right? Unlike here that there were no lines. So it's that simple, right? It's that simple. That's basically what this error is showing. So sometimes when you see error, you don't have to actually panic. Just go through it, read it, and see what the error is actually telling you. That will give you an insight of what you're supposed to do. A lot of errors that we encounter can actually be resolved by just going through the error message, reading through it. And that is where your debugging skill comes into play. Most people that debug, they are good at reading in between the lines. One of the advantage of all these tools is that it will not just throw you a random error. It will throw you an error and show you what the error is, sometimes even telling you what to do to fix that particular error. Just in the case of what I did earlier, I needed to be in a virtual environment before running my pip install. So that is that. Let's check the next one. So we have okay, let's check 501. Let's check 501 and see what it will give us. So yeah, if you see here, say meaning your line is longer than 80 characters, right? So for what we have here, that means the line is longer than 79 characters, and it's even showing you it's exceeded by how many number of characters, right? So that's that about that. So if we go to, we can check 305. 305 is almost similar to 302. So anything in the 300 category has to do with blank lines, right? And anything in the 500 category has to do with the length of the line. So if we check this last one, this last one, we can try and see what it has for us. Okay, so it said it is okay. It's by flick 8. It includes a blank line in your Python file, contains spaces or tabs. So according to blank lines, blah blah blah, and all of that. So it's giving you an example here. Basically, it contains blank line, white spaces. Let's say, for example, now you have it's supposed to be two spaces before. It's supposed to be a space before something, and then you have two spaces or three spaces, or you instead of pressing your space bar, you mistakenly press the tab, and then it gives like a long space. So this is what this particular error code is actually trying to say. So now we can see that we have an issue with our source code. It's not really a big issue, it's really fixable, but this is just to show you how you can do lint testing on your source code. We're not just here to talk about theory, we'll actually show you in a practical way. So what I'll do now is that I would pause the video, make all these corrections, and but before I do that, I would even want to show us, let it not be like we are is abstract. Let me go to the backend code here. So I'll show you where the errors are and how we have to correct it. So the first error is on line 18. Is on line 18. It expected two blank lines and found one. So let's go to line 18. This is line 18, right? So the blank line is on line 17. Is on line 17. It's expecting for line 18 to also be blank. So this your function is supposed to start from line 19, not line 18. So we'll give an extra space after 17, right? So if we check, then let's see what the next is, line 27. As expected, you can see that it's just one space that is here. It's expecting two spaces. So if we do just like that, it's just to show you. I just wanted to show you that this is exactly what it's actually talking about. We can actually see that it is just one space instead of two, and it's expecting two spaces instead of one. So the next should be line 30. Yeah, exactly. This should be the next because it's expecting two spaces. So I'll pause the video, make all of these changes, and then once we are back, we'll test again. All right. So see you soon. All right, so I've been able to include out spaces. So you can see that if I go here, so we have two spaces, same here, two spaces, same here, two spaces, so and all of that. So I've been able to also break some lines like this one, this particular one here. I had to break it down, then also some unnecessary spaces also. So let's now test. So if we do flick 8, so we're not getting any output. It means that we've successfully tested our what do you call it now? We've successfully tested our source code, and we are sure that we don't have any unnecessary spaces, any formatting error, any syntax error, and all of that. So what we've done now is exactly what we are going to do. Like that's what we are going to also replicate in our pipeline. So what we'll do is we'll go to our pipeline. So what did we do here? Test backend. So echo testing, then we'll do sh. So we have to cd to backend. And then would let's do another command. After we cd, we'll run. What did we do again? We ran pip install requirements.txt, and then we ran flick it on that current directory, right? So we did all of this. Let's now try and see if we can run it. But before that, everything we are now doing is from our repository. So we have to make sure that what we have, the changes we have made, is on the repository. Now we are getting changes from, or whatever we are reading from now is from our GitHub repository. So we have to ensure that we have the correct source code on the repository. So what we are going to do is that we are going to push our changes to the repository. So if I do git status, sorry, cd dot. So if I do git status, so that means we've had some changes. So I'd like to add this virtual environment to our git signal. So I'll do venv slash. So we do git status. Okay, so git add, git commit, we can say testing backend, then we have to push git push -u. Our main branch is the origin. Then it is going to ask me for my username, and it will ask me for my password, which I'm going to get. Okay, go to here, and so we have our password, our token here, but you can't actually see once you've used this token once, or once you've left this particular page, you won't see the token again. So in such cases, you might have to regenerate the token and store it somewhere. But like I told you, there's a way for you to actually get it done where you don't always have to input your token. You can use SSH to actually get it done. Because I'm just trying to get it done fast, that's why I'm using the token. It's just for the purpose of this particular video. So you can, if you see here, you can't see any token. So if you've lost or forgotten this token, you can regenerate it, but be aware that any script application using this token will need to be updated. So let's regenerate token. So we generate the token, and okay, so we already have the token here. So I'm just going to copy it and I'll paste it so that I'll push our changes. So our changes have been pushed. So I'm also going to save this token here so that I don't have to always regenerate it. So if I go to the home page, let's check our repository. Okay, so if we go to the backend was updated 2 minutes ago, and we check our app.py, so you see that now there are spaces, unlike before where there were no spaces. Now there are actually spaces. So now we can go ahead and retry this, we might actually run into errors, but let's see. Okay, let's go to configuration, and whatever errors we run into, we'll look into it together, and then we'll try to know what the issue is, where it's coming from, and then we can be able to sort it out. So now we have our testing phase. Let's save it, then we build. Okay, we have our third build. Okay, so now it's testing. Good. Okay, so what is it saying? It's saying pip not found. Like I told you, we might need to actually install all of these things on our Jenkins container. So it's saying it's a simple language, pip not found. So we have to install Python and install Python pip on our Jenkins container. So we're going to do that really quickly. That shouldn't take us a lot of time. So then we'll do docker ps. I need the ID of our container. So we're going to our container, docker exec-it. I said doctor. So we want a bash. Okay, we're in our container now. So we'll do let's come here, and so I already have that set up. Now, first of all, we want to install Python and pip. So we're going to do apt update and apt install Python 3 and Python pip. So let's check if we have Python installed first. Python 3 hyphen help. So we don't have Python 3 installed, so we just do sudo apt update. So let's update first. Okay, apt update. Okay. Oh wow, I don't have the permission, so I have to give. Let's see. Okay. So we have our root here, but I can't remember the root password. So let's sudo, sorry, that's cat /etc/groups group. Okay. So our root is so we can just add. I think we should be able to add our Jenkins is add to the root. Let me see. Sudo -i. There's no sudo here. Let me see. ls cd/etc. Okay, so there's no sudo as group here. So we'll have to find a way to either run this as a root, or would find a way to elevate the privilege of the Jenkins user. So just give me a sec. How to run command with root user in a Jenkins container. Okay. Okay, so let's exit. I think we need to actually specify or specifically log in as the root user into this container. So I'm just going to recall this command, but I'm going to use root to log into the command, to log into the, so yes, so that's the way to actually log in as root. So who am I? I'm root. So now let's run it. App update. Okay, so I'm just trying to update the, it's always good before you install anything, either on your virtual machine or on your container. It's always good to actually update, because there might be some repositories that new features might have been added to, some new dependencies, new libraries, and all of that. So you want to make sure that you are updating your container or your virtual machine regularly. So now that has been done, so we're going to do app install -y. I don't want any prompt, so I'm going to install Python 3 and Python, I think Python pip. Let me be sure. Python 3 pip, yes. Python 3 and Python 3 pip. Good. So we are going to install this. Okay. So let's just a sec for it to finish installing. Then we can now try to run our command again. So, and then when we run the command again, we'll run our pipeline again. Then we'll see if we run into any errors. Right, that took a while. So we've successfully installed Python 3 and Python 3 pip. So I think the third is to link it. So /usr/bin/python 3. So let's see cd /usr/bin. So we do ls. So I'm looking for pip. So we have pip and we have pip3. So we want to link these two together. So we'll do ln -s. That's, we are creating a soft link between Python 3 pip3 rather and pip, so that they can actually be able to work together. So I will do /usr/bin/pip3. Then I'll link it with usr/bin/pip. Okay, okay, file exists. Okay, no problem. If that's the case, it's actually optional. So let's check that everything is successfully installed. Let's do python 3 version. So we have our python 3 successfully installed. So let's check pip version. So we have both python 3 and pip successfully installed. So let's exit from our container and let's try to run the pipeline again. So okay, so let's go to, so I'm going to build, I want to go back to this. Since we are not making any changes, let's try and build again. Okay, let's see. Okay, so it has checking out our repository. So most times you have to be patient with these tools. You have to be patient with these tools because you can't master everything in a day. And even people that are masters, that claim to be masters, they still run into errors. They still Google search. They still use AI. They still try and debug. So you just have to take it step by step. So now we also had a failure, and why is that? The same issue we faced when we tried to do it on our VM. So this is to show you that a container and a VM, there is no difference. You understand? It's not as if a container is one different thing. The only difference between a container and a VM is that with a container you can run a container on any virtual machine. You understand? Why VM is just specific to that particular flavor. We have the Ubuntu, we have Windows, but the container cuts across all types of operating system. So we had the same issue of not entering or not putting our code in a virtual environment. So we are going to modify our pipeline and see how if we can sort that out. So let's get that done. So first of all, we create our environment. Okay, so we'll do sh. We create the environment, and then we have another sh source. We create the environment, we activate the environment, and then we run whatever we want to run. Or we can decide that, okay, we want to cd into the backend, create the environment first, and then run it. I think that sounds a bit better. So let's go to the backend first, then before we decide to create the backend, create the virtual environment rather. Okay, so I feel that this should be our final fix to this stage. So and let us configure it. Okay, now paste it here. So we have our testing, we cd into the backend, we create the virtual environment, and then we activate the virtual environment, run our installation, our requirements, and then check for any issues. So let's save Let's save it and then let's build again. And hopefully we don't run into issues this time around and it is successful. Okay, so what is the failure? So now they are telling us that we need to install Python 3.13 virtual environment. So you can see that everything they will tell you what the issue is and they will tell you how to go about it. So they said on Debian Ubuntu system, you need to install the Python 3 virtual environment package using the following command. So I'm just going to copy this as it is, copy it. We go back to our container, we log in as root, and all we need to do is just run that command. So these are things that you will definitely encounter on a day-to-day basis. So we'll just run it, and everything that we do is what we now automate. You cannot automate what you don't have an idea of. It's like trying to use Azure Kubernetes service when you don't even know the concept of Kubernetes itself, right? So all these things are not rocket science. They're just here to automate what we already know. So you cannot automate what you do not know, and that's why I take my time to run it, line by line first before we go into automation. So now that we have that installed, let's exit and try one more time to build. So you can see now we've built 5 times and we've only had one successful build. So let's build now. Let's see if hopefully this is successful, because I'm not seeing any other errors again. So I'm even happy with the fact that we are all seeing the errors as they are watching the video, so that you don't feel somehow when you actually make an error or you make a mistake. We learn by making all these errors. So let's just wait and see if this time around everything goes fine. I really believe it's going to go fine, because we've done basically everything that we are supposed to do. So it's saying source not found. Okay, it's saying source not found. So I think there's an issue with this command, this source command. Remember we had the same issue with pip. Then we now we're having source not found. Okay, so what this means is that in our pipeline, if I go back to, let me go back to our pipeline. Let me go back to our pipeline configuration. So you can this sh that we have here is actually a dash script, and this source command is specifically for bash scripting. So there are two ways to go about this. It's either you use the equivalent of source in for dash script, or you take it out, right? So let's see. Let's use the first option. Let's take it out. Let's take out this line of code and let's see if it's going to work. So let's build again. Let's see, because we just need for us to be able to create a virtual environment where we can test our application or our code to be sure that there are no issues. So let's see. Okay, let's see what the error is. So externally managed environment. So Python 3 and all of that. Okay, since this did not work, we'll try the other option. So I'll go here and get this line back. I'll get this. I'll replace this. The equivalent is just a dot. So I'll copy this. So what that command actually means is that you are activating the environment in that particular directory or in that particular space. So you can see that, okay, we've already created an environment by using Python 3 virtual environment. Then we want to activate that environment. So this is what this command is. So let's run it. And so let's save it and then run it. We'll build again. So let's see. Okay, I hope we don't get thrown any errors again and it goes smoothly. Okay, so we're still running into errors, and this video has actually gone really long. So I'm going to cut the video here, and when we come back, we'll continue from this particular space. We'll troubleshoot and then we'll know what exactly the error is. So I'll see you again in the second part of this video. Enjoy the rest of your day. Cheers.